This is Zach Nemeth, and I'm doing my interview on 9/11. What is your name?
Zach, my name is Mom or Jennifer Nemeth.
Where are you from?
I grew up in Farmington Hills, Michigan. We were living in Canton, Michigan when the events of 9/11 occurred.
How old were you on September 11th, 2001?
I was in my mid 30s.
Where were you on September 11th, 2001 when we were attacked?
I was in my house in Canton with you and your brother Ben. You were about 5 months old, and your brother was about 4.5 years old. I was getting you guys ready in the morning. And we had just come downstairs and turned on the TV, and Good Morning America was on. And Charlie Gibson and Diane Sawyer were showing and talking about what was going on, and there was footage of the Twin Towers, and I thought it actually was a promo for some sort of movie that was just opening, and quickly realized that no, this was very real and very serious and very scary.
What were your feelings, emotions when you first heard about the attacks?
I was terrified. I was terrified for all of us, for my children. I was terrified for what was going on because we didn't know. And it seemed that as the morning progressed, things were getting worse and worse. There was talk of a potential car bomb outside the State Department. And then we found that that did not occur. But then the buildings collapsed, and the Pentagon was hit by a plane, and then the plane went down in the field in Pennsylvania. It was terrifying.
What is your most vivid memory of that day?
The most vivid memory of the day was, sitting in front of the TV and watching both towers eventually collapse, and the absolute sheer terror that was going through you wave by wave, and imagining these buildings going down and seeing the images of people running in the streets and screaming, and then the absolute silence but for the alarms from officers and firemen that were going off as they were missing.
Were you personally connected to anyone in the towers, Pentagon, or the planes? What happened to them?
The only real personal connection I had to anybody that was there was your older brother's godfather, who worked in one of the towers and decided to play hooky that day and not go to work for really no reason other than he just felt like staying home. And, if he hadn't made that decision, he more than likely would have died that day. Your dad had a roommate from college who worked in the towers and was killed.
What do you remember about the nation and its leaders come together in the days following September 11th?
What do I remember of our leaders coming together? I know that everybody was in shock. I remember the days following 9/11, people walking around with eerily blank expressions on their face, like they just didn't know what to think or what to do or how to feel. I know that as hard as they tried, President Bush and other leaders tried to keep people calm and with a steady stream of information and news coming in. But they really didn't know what was happening either. So I think that we all tried to unite and come together, but it was a difficult experience and time and moment for everybody. How do you make people feel calm, rational adults when you are attacked the way that our country was attacked.
What do you think of the government's reactions to attack or like invading Afghanistan and invading Iraq?
Well, there's a saying that is hindsight is 2020. That means that you can always look back and second guess the decisions that were made and better decisions that should have been made. Should we have gone in and attacked Afghanistan and Iraq the way we did and how we did and when we did? I don't know. Part of being a world leader is the information that you are given that everybody else doesn't have, the decisions that you have to make that everyone else would love to be able to tell you how they would make them differently, but they didn't have to, you did. The amount of pressure that is on your shoulders to act swiftly, act correctly, and it's a difficult job to say the least. The weight must be tremendous on their shoulders.
Do you believe the government should be able to listen to phone calls or read private emails in order to fight terrorism?
It's a big question to consider. I think that we have a right to privacy. I think that our government is also battling a war on terrorism that we've never really considered in this country. And the sacrifices that we as citizens need to make in order to ensure our safety and to combat terrorism may ultimately mean that we need to be willing to open ourselves up to being checked out to make sure that we're all safe. I would do anything to keep my kids safe, and if that means that someone's going to listen to my conversation, there really isn't too much for them to listen to.
Do you think terrorism can be defeated? Why or why not?
Wow, these are big questions. Can terrorism be defeated? I don't know. The idealistic part of me would love to say, yes, I think it can, and yes, I think we'll see that day. The realistic side of my brain says, we live in a terribly evil world today. There are a huge number of terribly evil people in this world. Do they outnumber the number of good people? It's a possibility. I don't know. I'd like to see and think that it's possible for us to destroy terrorism and have a peaceful world. I don't know if that's possible. Certainly, I doubt it will be possible in my lifetime.
Do you think 9/11 has changed our nation or the world?
I do. I think that we were walking around feeling very safe. I think that we were letting our guard down too much. I think that we potentially weren't paying attention enough to what was going on in the world to see these offshoots of fundamental terrorists shoot up in the world. They didn't appear out of nowhere. They've been there growing, waiting for an opportunity. And, I think we are a far more frightened world today than we were prior to the attacks of 9/11.
Last question. Why do you think it is important for students to learn about September 11th?
The same reason that it was important for generations and generations, and it will always be, to learn about the things that have happened in previous wars, to talk about, acknowledge, and learn about the events of the Holocaust. You have to be aware of the things that are bad that have happened in the history of your people and your world in order to not repeat them, because once you start turning a blind eye to them and or you deny that it happened, or you admit that it wasn't a big deal, or you really lose touch with how violent an event was, you let your guard down and you open that opportunity exists for terrible things to happen again. So you learn from the bad things that have happened from you and the mistakes that you have made as an individual, as a country, as a people, as a world, so that they don't repeat themselves again.
Okay, thank you. That's it.